Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Devin and I are doing the final discussion for Oathsworn. Oathsworn into the Deep Wood. So, before we even get started, this will contain every spoiler probably known to man for this game. It's not entirely true, but yeah, so if you don't want to know anything about Oathsworn, don't watch this video. Because we just finished the campaign, so bye. Go watch my whole series. If you're not watching this, go watch our entire series, and then watch our final thoughts. But now that that's been said,
we did it.
We did this one. First chapter,
21 sessions.
Yeah, 21. Technically 42 sessions. Because it's story and encounter, but 21 overall chapters, and both taken on average probably 2 hours.
Each.
Like
they're not short.
No,
yeah.
Like every time we would play, like if we were getting up in the morning to be like, I'd always think we can get 3 sessions in, but it would always pretty much routinely be 2. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the stories are about 2 hours, and the encounters are roughly 2 hours. And so you definitely get your money's worth. I mean, if each chapter is, 4 hours on average.
Yeah, big time you get your money's worth in this game.
Yeah, you got 80-something hours in the game. And I gotta say, there wasn't, even if there were some encounters that I didn't really think, were amazing, this game there was never a time where I was not excited to play it. Mm-hmm. Every time I was like, oh fuck yeah, we're getting to play Oathsworn.
Right. Story is just great, different mechanics almost every single time. Gripping choices, interesting dialogue. It's just really cool.
Yeah, the writing is done in such a way that while Madara was the first narrative-driven campaign that I actually talked about the story outside of playing, where it's like, what do you think is going to happen? We wouldn't really do that with Oathsworn. It didn't have that kind of narrative, book storytelling Madara does. But Oathsworn, every time it was story, I was gripped, just invested, and then it's make a choice. It's okay, now let's debate over all these choices. And, I mean, for better or for worse, if you're wanting a game that will have a Detroit Become Human branching path kind of thing, that's not this game. And I would highly recommend that if that's what you're wanting, you're not going to get that here. But it is theoretically an illusion of choice. Because it's not do you save this person or this person? That's going to completely skew what encounter.
Yeah, it's not like you're getting multiple timelines.
Yeah.
Or, you're not getting multiple playthroughs of this. You're doing the same encounter each time, regardless. Yeah. But it kind of lets you feel the impact your characters have on the world.
Yeah.
Are you saving these people? That village. We could have killed every single one of them that were protected by the Spider Queen.
Right.
We could have spared every single one of them, even the ones that were kind of dickheads.
Yeah.
And said, then there's the middle choice. But either way, same shit's gonna happen.
Yeah. It really just kind of gave you different narrative text, because it did have you write stuff down on your free company sheet. So it was but that's all impactful. Whenever you're writing betrayed on your keyword, and every time it asked you, you remember why you got that. So, and yeah, like you said, it makes your character feel like you made a decision that you're not happy about. And for that betrayed keyword, it constantly reminded you. And it's I feel like shit, I'm sorry. I thought it's for the greater good. Or we had, King Killer on here. We had, pruning or infested or things like that it was it's not going to ever be instead of doing encounter 20, you do this one. You still narratively feel like your choices mattered. But mechanically, it was either, do you want this token or this token? Or really the only benefit of maybe trying different choices was because in our entire campaign we got ambushed 4 times. We got the special rules 5, 6, 9, 10, 13 times.
Not bad.
And we got the unique item 9 times. So, like the extra unique item.
Mm-hmm.
So, really, a lot of the different decision you make, like if we kept this and played again, it's like, oh, okay, well, in Chapter 6, we didn't get the special rules. So, let's try and get the special rules, and that might be a different story throughout the game. But, again, that doesn't really matter on a replay with the same people, because I don't need to know the special rules for Chapter 6, because I've done Chapter 6, so I know what the encounter is. Unless you take forever to replay campaign games, which I have kind of yet to do for any of them.
Yeah.
I'd come back and be like, I don't fucking remember what Chapter 6 was.
See here, I don't know how many KDM. I think I've got 3, maybe 3 campaigns of KDM under my belt now.
Yeah.
That's the only one I've replayed.
Right.
Oh, wait, Madara. Somehow,
Oh, yeah.
I played Madara twice. Christ. That's a long one.
Yeah. You got to do that at the same time, though,
Yeah.
as ours.
That's true. Tandem.
In Sleeping Gods, I kind of had a little bit of replay going on. But overall, like, the storytelling, like, every time it gave you a choice, it was like, whew, okay. Like, I kind of want to go this one, but shit. And that means that the writing is fantastic. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say, like, Oathsworn is one of the best board gaming experiences I've ever had.
Yes.
It is phenomenal the entire time. And whether that means that the game stays great, like, because it's weird. I say experience specifically because the game uses that mystery system.
Yes, because the fact that they did so well to hide all the bosses, all the monsters are secret. And if you maintain that this first playthrough is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, just the one playthrough is worth its money.
I 100% agree. And the game is not necessarily that expensive, all things considered. I think it's like $400.
That's for everything.
That's for literally everything. Now, a lot of games, some people would be like, $400 and doesn't have 90 expansions? It's like, no. Like, you get 80 hours out of $400, and you get massive pieces of plastic. You get... I mean, a lot of the extra stuff is more cosmetic. Like metal coins, the iron thing, the armory, which I would honestly say, if you're going to get the game, don't get the terrain.
Yeah.
And don't get the armory.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't need the terrain. I mean, yeah, then it's just sitting on a board. I don't know.
Yeah, like...
Then it's just obstructing your field of view.
Yeah, we were using the terrain because I had it, and then I was like, I don't know, it was like chapter 17, 18. I was like, let's try it without. And then I never went back because it was just so annoying to try and reach for something and knock that. And it's like, ugh. And with the hexagonal thing, it just kind of got in the way.
Oh, yeah, big time.
The houses are just... It's just way easier. Like, for board clarity, you don't really lose anything. It's not like, oh man, I wish that was a real tree. And I would say also, don't get the armory. Like, I think it's cool at the beginning. You're like, oh, I can fuck with my... But then whenever you're... Like, you get a certain weapon. Like, my priest eventually had a two-handed mace, but he couldn't really... He didn't have a thing to hold it, like, with two hands. So I was like, well, I don't really need to mess with it. This is my personal opinion. I don't think and I think the minis, it's a very cool gimmick, but they're very, like, you kind of have to grab your mini and barely touch them.
I mean, yeah. It's cool in a way. I mean, they just do broad swaps, so it's not like they have, like, each individual weapon. It's like, okay, my character's currently wielding two daggers, so I could customize the blade to look like he's holding two daggers, or I can customize him to hold a single giant sword.
Yeah.
Same with the bear. He could hold two axes, or maybe a chain and axe.
And the armory did a good enough job that because each character can only use certain weapons, that it wasn't like, yeah, you have a massive bag for just the warrior.
Like how hers is just like 4 different iterations of bow.
It is 4
It's like, okay, which one do you think looks cooler?
Yeah.
And just put that one on there.
Yeah, you can get close enough. Like, for the longest time, my priest was wielding 2 maces. He could have gone staff or two-handed mace, but that was his weapon, which is badass, and I was using that. So it can be cool. My problem is that, like, there are a lot of times where they could just pop off, and that's annoying. So it's not the tightest of fits. And if you ever want to paint them, fuck God, that sucks.
Well, some of them,
Time to paint every little hand.
Yeah.
And you're going to be fiddling with them. But that's what I'm saying. If you're just wanting the game,
Oh yeah.
you don't need the extra stuff.
No, you do not. You could save yourself $200 easy.
Yeah.
Just from subtracting those two things.
Yeah. So
I don't know what's the core game like alone. Say tokens, and assuming we were bare bones.
it wasn't the glitter dice. It wasn't metal coins. Like it's tokens and the plastic. And technically, I don't even think you need minis. They have standees.
Oh.
For the bosses, like the enemies.
Oh, gotcha.
So you don't even need to get the mystery boxes, because a lot of it will say, if you have mystery envelope this, then open that up. You get envelopes of standees instead of the miniature boxes.
Oh, okay.
Which, theoretically, if the envelopes are the same size, kind of hides a little bit better. Because if all the envelopes are the same size, you wouldn't accidentally peek and see that 20 is a tiny box and 21 is a huge one. So you wouldn't get an idea of how big your enemy is. So you could even go cheaper, and I would still say that you get an amazing experience. You'd get the exact same experience, because
just the app was so well done. The voicing is so well done.
Yeah, I mean the one thing that I think the app kind of did, like Foreteller does really great ambiance, like music, and like just kind of hearing sound effects would have been enhanced a little bit. Like that guy's voice with like rain pelting down, thunder crashing whenever we were doing the story stuff, that would have just enhanced it even more.
Yeah.
But the guy, I mean, he's a professional actor. He played in Game of Thrones of all shows. Somehow they got him, and he just really gripped you in whenever, like, the very final one, whenever he was having, like, again, spoilers, Sam will, like, just get really, like, vicious, and I was like, God, I'm hard! Like, that's so amazing. So yeah, the experience is something that, it's kind of like whenever you finish Pandemic Legacy. Like, when you finish the first one for the first time, you're like, that was one of the best experiences. And you never recapture that. Like, you'll never, on a replay of Oathsworn, recapture that, because you know what you're going up against. So yeah, you do kind of lose replayability with the mystery box. But I don't know, would you rather, like, that's a good question. Would you rather have it be the mystery box, kind of the way they did it, where you every chapter you don't know what you're gonna fight, or would you rather have like a branching narrative where there were, like, let's say each chapter could have had a different fight? Like, which one would you rather?
I mean, they
have?
did. The branching narrative is so hard to do.
Yeah,
it's really difficult, and that just depends on, even if it is branching, like, how much is it really going to branch?
That's true.
I think they did great here. Let's see here. To go into detail, I don't know. I was enthralled each time, and it felt like I was making impact, just with our decisions. Great. Yeah. I mean, they don't have to be so important. I mean, it's just us affecting the world. Just interacting with the proverbial characters.
Yeah.
It's great. I had an amazing time.
Yeah. Like, I'm definitely not saying it takes away from anything.
I guess your question was, which would I?
It's like, would you rather know what the possible options are? Like, let's say it's still struck in a chapter or structure.
So like KDM style or Aeon's Trespass style, where I know what the enemies are going to be.
Where it's like, okay, yeah, we could potentially fight one of these 3 enemies in chapter 1. We just don't know. Just to add replayability. Or do you think that the allure of, like, man, what's it gonna fucking be this time?
That's great. I think they went all in on that, and they did awesome, and I think it was a good choice. Yeah,
because there's nothing out there that's like that. Like, this game is, I mean, they specifically market that. It's like, hey, mystery fights. You're invested in the story the entire time until something in the story tells you, like, oh shit, that's what we're fighting.
Yeah, I know in the early game I felt kind of witchery in a way. Like, what foe do we hunt this day?
Yeah. And I thought it was going to be kind of like that. Was, oh, okay, yeah, we're basically monster hunters.
Like, episodic. Okay, what's the monster this week?
Flavor.
Which, even if they just did that, I would have a great time. I like that it came to a resolution ahead and all that. Yeah. I mean, grim dark does grim dark. Nobody feels good.
That's true. There was never an ounce of hope.
Yeah, it's like... I guess grim dark. I mean, I guess that's a small complaint. I'm like, does everything have to be so goddamn grim dark?
Yeah.
Can I have a little bit of hope, a little bit of happy?
Well, they had a little bit of that. Remember the time where we could have, like...
Let the child die? And we saved the child's life?
No, well, yeah, well, we did. That's nice. No, remember before we even made this march into the Deepwood with the soldiers, it's like, kid, you want to go out and morale the soldiers? Do you want to stay in the tavern? And we stayed in the tavern to have this final moment of, that's a good moment. True, it wasn't like you walk in and all your patrons killed themselves. It's like, what the fuck?
Well, that's about as good as you're going to get in a Grimdark. Is there like final fucking drink before you go out 6 feet under? You know, that's heaven right there.
But that's what I'm saying is like it's whenever in your these horrific times. I mean, medieval fantasy. It's like, yeah, that's how it was. You enjoyed your drink with your brothers before it's like, well. These are the glimmer of sunlight in it. I even thought the finale had, it was a dark ending, but it had those moments of like making sure that camaraderie was the focus. Was like, how many times have you been there for each other? Like, oh, you're about to be devoured by this creature, and the blade comes through and they pick you up. That's harrowing in a way, but yeah, there's never a moment where you're like,
we're getting out of this.
Yeah, I was sitting there like, is there a chance that we survive? No,
absolutely not.
No. But even then, it's like find that the brotherhoodness that they've done with the Oathsworn. I thought they did really, really well because they could have been edgy and shitty about it. They could have been like super edgelord goth, like Spider-Man 3 about it. And they didn't. I thought they made it super tasteful. Like, if you listen to like the Black Plague series from Last Pod, it fucking sucked. There was nothing to do. There was medieval times sucked. It was like, like coughing into a handkerchief. Oh god, there's a little bit of blood. Well, it was nice knowing you.
Got a little cut there. Oh, it's infected.
It's immediately infected.
Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, so I love the world. Because there's, because I just played another campaign called Chronicles of Drunagor, and, the second chapter, had this evil lich guy, and I was like, evil guy is evil, generic fantasy, kind of hand-wave it, because it's another one. And this one is just so, because I'm trying to think of games that are, dark fantasy. Campaign games that are dark fantasy. I don't count KDM as fantasy. I don't even know what I'd put it. I guess it is fantastical. But to me, I think KDM does... it's not narrative either. So I guess that's not really a fair comparison. Because I think KDM, if you're talking about, overall theme, KDM is fucking tasteless. It's literally hey, you want to see a bunch of dicks and tits? It's yeah, I guess, but... At the same time, why? Oh, just because I just have a boner and I made a character. Oathsworn doesn't have that. I thought its narrative was gripping the entire time. So I agree. I think the mystery box aspect was just such a breath of fresh air. And if you're able to maintain that secrecy... the only spoiler I ever got was seeing the box sizes. And if you only do a chapter a week, you'll probably forget. If I saw chapter 12 box, and I was like, okay, well, I'm playing that next week, I'd probably forget what the size was anyway. So, yeah, that enhancement of, playing the entire story for 2 hours, and then it's oh, hey, we got the special rules. What's it gonna be? Oh shit, it's a satyr. I think
it's cool. That's so getting the special rules ahead of time doesn't really help you plan or change anything.
That is true,
but it's a nice little oh,
Yeah.
I know what I'm fighting now.
Right.
Which is just kind of a little gift to you.
Right.
It's fun, and that you can only do that. That's only a gift as a mystery box.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no, actually, now that you think about it, yeah, getting the special rules never really helped. Because the encounter wasn't, like, immediately after you ended the story and then set up for the encounter. So it wasn't like, oh shit, what cards am I going to use? Because you would have seen the special rules ahead of time before the encounter. But yeah, it is more of like a, ooh, what'd we get? Yeah, now that I think about it, why did the special getting it matter? Like, mechanically. I don't think it did. Ever.
Nope. But it was cool.
It was
we
cool.
discovered it
Yeah.
with our characters.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. It still mattered, just not mechanically. Do you have any negatives on the game?
Negatives on the game. None that immediately make themselves apparent. Everything's very clean. Let's see. The story does well. It walks you through. The app does amazing. It walks you through every step. It narrates everything for you.
Yes.
And your choices are made through the app and leads you in the proper direction. I mean, setting up for the encounters, not terrible. Everything is very clear on their boards.
Yep, everything's clean. Like, I was telling you earlier when you were setting up, you were like, can I help? I'm like, I'm almost done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm basically done. Everything's contained. Your character's, like, right here. It's not... I mean, yeah, it kind of takes up a lot of board stuff or table presence, but you could clean it up a little bit more. I just have the ample room.
I mean, there were some niggles with the puzzles.
Which
I kind of give them leniency on because they tried so many, and there's so many different avenues that they can do with that.
There was really only one that was bad. Like...
Yeah, the rotating discs.
Which is impossible.
Which was on a piece of paper. And
yeah.
But that was the one time.
Which
else,
theoretically could be fixable. Like, they could do... Like, if they added more content to Oathsworn, they could be like, oh, and here's a puzzle pack that, like, just comes in an envelope, and it's like a exit where it's like an actual just cardboard disc that you just keep in a secret envelope, and now it says, hey, open special envelope 9, and you just open it and you're like, oh, okay, it's a disc, to try and figure it out.
I mean, the combat was good and smooth. It had a balancing mechanic. You know, the determination rule, you miss, you get a token, and the tokens are the only way you're doing anything worth a shit in this game.
Yeah.
Your redraws, your empowers. I mean, you can roll up to 10 dice anytime you so chose.
Yeah.
Which apparently wasn't as bad as you thought. I guess rolling... the more dice you roll, the better you do!
Did you miss?
I got 3 blanks.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But this, oh my god, the mechanisms of this game are just fantastic. It's funny, because I did a top 10 battle mechanism, and I can't remember if Oathsworn was number 1 or number 2, but the fact that they understood and somehow figured out how to balance randomness as well as mitigation. Because...
with a push your luck, kind of.
With a push your luck element. That's like, if you sit there and you're like, okay, my mind is 2 black. Just roll 2 black. Chances are you're not gonna miss. But it's like, that's a 9 defense. That's pretty rough. Okay. Yeah. And you can add 8 white dice. And if you roll and you miss and you have no one to blame but yourself, and you're like, well, that fucking sucks. Oh, wait. It's a little bit better because now I get a token. And any combat token of your choice. So it's like, well, I don't have any rerolls. I'm going to get that. So next time I have a higher chance of hitting. Oh my god, it's brilliant. And the fact that they use the card system and the dice to where for people who would like chucking dice, hey, here you go, have all of them. Like, I don't want to touch them. I want to focus on the cards. Cool. And then you can mix and match by looking and be like, there's like 4 blanks left in that deck. I have better odds with dice. And while they have all of that, like making sure that you don't feel let down with a miss. Like KDM, our first campaign, miss. Oh, head trauma, dead. Boom. It's like, this game fucking sucks. I'm not having fun playing. Oathsworn, it's like, God, that sucks. I missed. okay, well, I'll try next time, and I have better odds. So they just nailed it. And then Aeon Trespass, I think I put Aeon Trespass battle mechanism over this one because I had the mitigation, but also the inverted system where it's like as the fight goes on, both sides get tougher and stronger, and it was just a more unique system. But what I was saying about like having all that, having the control of the deck or the knowledge, the imperfect knowledge, the randomness, the push your luck, the mitigation,
the rotating cards, the battle flow.
The battle flow system, having all that, and even knowing what the enemy was going to do, having every single card face up so you weren't just like, oh, okay, it's its turn. Oh, it does that attack. I had no fucking clue. That's annoying. Even having all that, they still found a way to make every single fight feel nail-biting. I don't know how they did it. Like, there was maybe 1 or 2 fights that it was like no one went down. And it's like, oh, that was kind of easy. But out of 21 fights, only a few feel easy. It's like, you need a breather every now and then.
Yeah.
But God, it's just brilliant. I love the fact that you know what they're doing. You just look over, what's the enemy's next attack? Because that's its next attack.
Yeah.
That's the other amazing system. You just know what it's going to do. And it's like, there's nothing you do about it. There's no way you're like, okay, can we cancel that? Nope. When do we pop it? Do we want to whittle their health all the way down and then pop?
Right.
Do we want to do it one at a time?
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact that they gave the enemies, kind of a very structured retribution system to, that kind of kept them, at pace with us. If we're popping this many locations, they get to react that many more times.
Yeah,
from their standard stage cards.
Right. And it's because thematically they made it where it's like, hey, you're Oathsworn. You're not newbies. You're not veteran. I mean, you're veteran, so it's like I've fucking fought, this worm before.
Yeah.
Like, so we kind of know what it's doing. Oh shit, it's a worm. So you feel like you can react to whatever they're doing. So you know exactly what they're gonna do, and it's like, okay, that's what it's gonna do. So if we have the ranger come in and pop that, before we do that, let's move everyone. It's like, oh shit, it's gonna blow, and then like, oh, let's move away from the spores or move away from this, so it only hits one person. Yeah, it's brilliant. Because they also don't really do it the way KDM or Aeon Trespass does it. Because KDM is like, okay, we
the hit location cards.
Well, yeah, hit locations, and eventually the monster just gets weaker. In Aeon Trespass, the monster gets stronger. This one, it doesn't really do either of that. Like, yeah, if there's an icon showing, it loses 1. Like, oh, hey, I knocked its, the claw off, so it's like I broke its hand. Or the Broodmother, it's like technically it doesn't have a tail because I shot its tail off, so it can't do a tail swipe. Yeah, it loses a card.
Right. Weakens them like a dice worth.
But overall, it doesn't make it ever feel like, oh, okay, now the gazelle or the antelope's just kind of, it's
well, yeah,
it's sad
they just
now.
get, I kind of like it, in KDM system, they get stupider. They're
Right.
more animalistic.
Yeah.
So they're going to do so. But if you do get caught up on like a legendary card in their discard, like, oh, let's go do that again.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not saying KDM or ATO does it better. I'm just saying that this one does it different. Like, you were mentioning that they structured it in a way that the enemy always kept pace with you. And it's like that for 2 hours. Like, it's like you're looking at it and it's like, oh, it has 6 hit point locations. 4 of them are gone. It doesn't mean like, oh, now it just does white cards of damage. It's like, no, it's still doing pretty much all its strength. And the card that you're drawing in stage 3 still sucks, even if it has 1 die left. Yeah, it's just different, and I like that. God, yeah, the battle flow system is brilliant. I love that element of like, I mean, you have a little bit of card control, so your characters they're very, like, it's not like Madara character building. You're not gonna be swathed with
no, like we the word of the day, curated.
Yeah,
they know what you are going to have at any given point like short of like what tokens, and they have very tight control over that. So this like what your capabilities versus that monster at that moment, they know, and they have planned and constructed the combat around.
Which is still just insane, like of just how balanced they make this game. And they also made it in a way that whenever you're fighting, like, it's like, man, I kind of suck ass this fight. Like, you're not always amazing. And that's thematically awesome. There are some fights where Otis or the bear would just drop. And it's
I mean, they made the game the puzzle of the fight, you know, and that was really cool. You know, where, I mean, you know, compared to the games where you know, of course, keep bringing up KDM. You can't not in a boss battler. But you know, where you're more engine building and less narrative, and you know, not so much the puzzle, more as like, okay, what have you been able to collect and construct to bring to the fight?
Well, I mean, I did this in Madara, and I've done this. It's just like you just kind of, at least I play a lot of campaign games, so I naturally will compare them to all the other ones. Like with this one specifically, it's like, if you're wanting a massive character, you know, like swaths of equipment and full customization of your character, Madara does that in spades. It's like, oh, hey, you're playing as Zeke? Well, okay, here's his starting stuff. Hey, he kind of plays like this, but, oh, you want to make him a spellcaster? Fucking go for it. Here, it's like, I'm playing the priest. This is what he does. This is the priest. He basically teeters on 1 health the entire fucking fight, and then survives to heal 1, and then come in and heal 1 person, and then run away. Although I didn't play him like that. I feel like I didn't play the priest well, because I'm sure that there is a way to build him. And it's not like the characters are static. You're not sitting here going...
It's not like you have like floating. It's mostly just, you know, do you use the right card at the right time? That's really all you can go off.
What I'm saying is, like, I don't think they're one note. You know, you're not playing a character and you're like, oh, that's all he does.
Oh, no, they have their own deck of cards that you get to mildly customize, which is really cool, based on, you know, what foe. It's like, maybe I want to lean more AoE. Maybe I want to lean a little more movement. Depending on the character you're playing, it's going to vary your capabilities. The priest is surprisingly mobile. He can be. Quite a few mobile cards.
He can be. A lot of his cards were healing, but at a cost. I'm sure there were ways to build him where I probably should have had him have a shit ton of defense tokens and higher armor. I should have made him kind of like tanky, like the bear, so that if I'm being attacked, it doesn't actually whittle my health, and my health just whittles down from me healing. But that's the thing. It's like we'd see the fight and be like, okay, no minions? All right, then I'm going to go more healing. I'm going to keep you guys alive because I'm not going to be dealing damage. But he has ways to deal damage. The archer for the while was the one person getting popped. And it's like, ooh, this fight has a lot of terrain. I'm going to have her do this. Fights with a lot of minions, we had ways to deal with them. And then also narratively, if you want... There were a lot of times where it's like, do you have this Oathsworn? Do you have this, like, the Cur? It's like, hey, if you have the Cur, that's going to be really good here. And they did, again, a very curated, is your word, balanced job of making every character. There's not a bunch of them. Like, you're not sitting there with 40 different characters to choose from. You have 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And technically one of them is an unlockable. There's an encounter you can do to get them. But ranging from complexity of the Huntress, Dendry Grove, and Witch being 5-star, the Avi, Harbinger being 4, the Thracian Blade, Cur, Pendant, Warden, and Ursus Warbear at 3, Priest at 2, Scar Tribe, and the Ranger at 1. But that's the other thing, is from yours being a 3 to a 1, like... It didn't feel like you were ever better than... I mean, granted, they were the ally, but I've played as the Ranger. It's like, everyone feels awesome. It's like, hey, that one's a little bit more complex to play. You have to worry about placement of battle flow. You don't have to do that with her. You just shoot a bow. But you still feel like a badass. It's so good. It's so freaking good. Negatives. I thought I had one, and then basically immediately forgot. because the thing is also with the equipment, like, it's interesting. You think it would be shitty, but it's not. The fact that you have to break a weapon every campaign, and it's like, oh, I like that weapon. But
and I don't mind another punishment.
Yeah.
For dying. It's like, well, I don't lose my character permanently, so
yeah,
it makes you feel a little more like, okay, this evens it up. This is my punishment.
Well, even if you don't go down, you still lose an item. Something still breaks.
Right.
I think thematically they talked about that your weapons are basically like hodgepodge kind of together. But you lose a weapon, but you get to see all your loot stuff first. So it's like, oh, okay, there's a bow in there. So yeah, I'll break my bow and grab that one. Mm-hmm. It never felt punishing, but you also couldn't necessarily get a build going. Like you're not getting like I had
You're constantly updating. The text is constantly changing. The most that you had to look toward was okay, what's my defense value?
Yeah.
And what's my mic?
Yeah. And sometimes you get something that's really cool. I think towards the end they kind of quit giving you loot at the very end of the campaign. Like, it was like, okay, yeah. But there was a time where I had like 2 items that I could use to lower the defense by 2. And that was a build for a little bit. But yeah, you're not getting a character build. And even then, you use your weapon. Like, hey, I'm going to use my Thunderhead for this. It goes in the battle flow system. So it's like, you still obviously get all your might, but... yeah. But again, that was just different. And it's like, that's actually not that bad.
Speaking of companions, the fact that they have a boiled down simple system for like, okay, I don't have 4 people to play, but I want to dumb down a character to bring them in so it's easier to operate.
Yeah. And they're good. They're not great. Like, obviously a companion like this is not going to fully replace a full-fledged character. But it's not like they're sitting there with an AI system where they're going, oh, roll a white. It's like, why do they, what? They fucking suck. Like, there would be times where it's like, oh, hey, I'm going to have her and I'm going to use this. And, oh, she did 72 damage.
Right.
It's like, they'd pop off. We had the Warbear come in and just whirlwind helicopter through minions. Yeah. And that does 2 things. That's amazing. One... this game can now be played solo. Like, can you imagine trying to play Madara solo? Like, right. Have full 4 characters.
They actually did provide rules to...
oh, they did?
To,
okay.
like, condense a character.
I see, okay.
So that way they're just, like, essentially an attachment card.
I gotcha, okay. Is that new? I feel like that wasn't in the original.
It's
rules,
in there. It is. I don't know with, like... on your content, I'm pretty sure we both have it. But it's just essentially it's just their card, so it adds more hit points to your character, and you get their like natural ability as well. So like if you condense Zeke, you get extra 12 hit points, and you could dodge every turn.
I see. Okay, but yeah, it's like that's very watered down. But yeah, it's like, okay, you still have a companion character. There's still a person on the map. They just now can use these badass, really cool abilities and move further than you can. And the other thing is that's really great. So you can play this game with your one character and then run 3 companions.
Yeah.
And that's way more manageable. The other thing is it allows for drop-in and drop-out campaign play, which we unfortunately had to do for this campaign, just through life circumstances. It's like... okay, well, we had 3 players. 1 person can't make it consistently anymore. Okay,
you just could roll him to a companion?
Yeah, now he's a companion. Like, all the tokens that we upgraded, like, because you still can get upgrades for tokens and animus and regeneration. All that stays. They're considered Oathsworn. And, yeah, it's like, it was just easy to be like, okay, now these items, it says it on there. Oh, hey, okay, this, whatever this text is still works for a companion. Yeah, they're great. The one negative that that it finally popped in my head because I was looking over at my glass case was I feel like that they might have ran out of steam towards the very end in terms of monster encounters.
Oh yeah,
because
the repeats.
They like and now thematically, story wise, it was all amazing. Every single story was having you grip. So this is a very, very minor complaint. They do repeat enemies 4 times. The Broodmother, the Satyr, the Worm, and the Scar Tribe. Now, each of those encounters still felt different. Just narratively speaking, and also just updated with their special rules. But it's like, well, you're doing the mystery box thing. That's kind of it's like, oh, it's the Broodmother again. But even then, it's like, oh yeah, it's the Broodmother. That was number 1, and you fight her again. And you're like, oh hell yeah, we're still super powerful. Look how far we've come.
Right.
And I'm getting them professionally painted, so it's like, whoo, okay, that saved me another
to use
$300. But yeah, that's like the only like that might upset a lot of people, where it's like, really, they're not 100% unique. It's like, no, but the story is. It's not like the exact same story. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I think the story encounters were also just phenomenal. I'm glad that they didn't do just, oh, okay, you're at this town. Oh, here's the new monster. Mm-hmm. Like Monster of the Week. It starts off like that a little bit, but then the overall narration just kind of grows into something bigger, and the story does connect. It is a branching story. Almost feels a little bit like Trigun or Cowboy Bebop, like in how they do, where every episode kind of feels episodic, where it's like, that episode didn't really connect to this one, but there is an overarching story. This one kind of feels a little bit like that, where you're going from town to town, and it's like, okay, so we went from Verum to over here. They obviously don't really connect, but here's a monster in this one, there's a monster in that one. Sometimes you fight a mollusk for no reason, you just do. And that encounter with that fight has no relation to the ogre.
Right.
But
hey, we're Oathsworn. That's our job.
That's exactly what
you're there for. Another day in the life.
Yeah. Yeah, and it still had a satisfying ending. I don't think they stuck the landing on the encounter. Like with
the final encounter.
The final fight, I really didn't like it. But thematically, it was amazing. The story was really good. The actual fight itself, it wasn't my least favorite.
It's gonna be so hard to do, to make a final boss, especially in like a board game. To really feel,
to truly cap it off. No, I agree. I think, again, if this was just different boss fights, it's like, oh, here's your final one, I'd be like, oh, that fucking sucked. But because I have the context of what that final fight was, it's like, oh no, it's still badass, and they still had an epilogue. And I'm gonna be completely honest, I almost teared up finishing it. Yeah. Like, I was like, this was just so fucking good. Yeah. It's like finishing a D&D campaign where it's like, oh, yeah, that was amazing. Like, the narration was just really, really good. So, and we lost Bark. But to be fair, I didn't have to bring him in. I brought him in specifically because he was an Dendry dog, and I'm like, oh yeah, he'll help out here. And he did. He saved you. Yes. Only for you to die
immediately by being tree hugged to death.
Yeah. The allies, I like that as well. When your Oathsworn goes down, it's like, no, keep playing.
Really cool mechanic. Like, they make you, weirdly get attached to them and want to collect them.
Yeah, you look at them, and then they're like, when the city event or the Deepwood event, they might pop up. It's kind of like a Crossroads event in like Dead of Winter or Forgotten Waters, where it's like, oh hey, do you happen to have this guy? We do. Oh, nice. Cool. Like, it was badass to have a golem and bring him in. Yeah. And sometimes you sit there and be like, okay, this monster's really kicking our ass. I'm gonna bring in a man-at-arms. I don't give a fuck about this dude. I really don't want to lose many winters. Yeah. It was upsetting to lose the dog, and I was like, I shouldn't have named him. That was my problem. I shouldn't have named him. But, and you don't have to. But the fact that it wasn't like a player elimination, where it's like, sorry, your Oathsworn's out, you don't get to play anymore.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, no, bring it in. You only lose an encounter if all the Oathsworn actually go down. So, my final question is, where do you think they go from here?
Here?
Yeah. So, they have said, we know for a fact because we talked to them at Gen Con last year. They're currently working on a like a area control kind of Euro style game. That's what they're currently working on. But I asked them, I mean, because they weren't advertising their area control game at Gen Con, they were advertising this one. It's like, are you guys doing more content? And his response was, oh yeah.
Okay.
Like, I thought you were right next to me whenever he said
Yeah,
that.
I was.
Okay.
I'm just like, I don't remember the specifics.
Oh, okay.
But, well, I'm trying to think. I think...
Because he was like, he basically said it takes time to balance and kind of like how Root, Leader Games, has said I think they have 2 more expansions planned, but it's getting harder and harder to playtest because there's just so many combinations. You don't want to put out expansions to be like, oh, these are busted. So because of how deeply curated and balanced everything is, where it's like, oh, we're gonna like if we play with these 4.
I think they do a separate campaign.
Okay.
I don't think they're gonna like modify this campaign at all.
Yeah, I would agree with
I
you
think
there.
they might, with the app, make, okay, are you doing Into the Deepwood, or are you doing whatever this next one's going to be?
Into the Frost. Into the Frost Haven.
Yeah.
What? Into Gloomhaven. They do a collab with Gloomhaven.
That's why the Deepwood didn't die, because they can't end the game. Because they're still making money off of it.
That's true. No, but I mean, if that was a narrative event, let's say we did release Samel, and it's like, yay, the plague dies and the Deepwood dies. That is an option, so I think you're actually correct. I think it is going to be Oathsworn subtext here, a different biome.
I don't know how they'll do it. I don't know if they're going to like make, if they would just do it like as an expansion. I guess that'd be the best way to do it, because you wouldn't get it unless... I don't know if it would logically make sense to create another so make an expansion, but for like a new campaign. So it's like a new monster box with so
it would be a standalone. Like, because Frosthaven, you don't need Gloomhaven stuff.
Yeah.
Frosthaven is its own campaign, own monsters and all that. You don't have to touch any of your Gloomhaven shit.
Yeah.
So I actually think you're right. I think it's obviously still called Oathsworn, but in a completely different setting, time period.
Yeah, something.
I think the only thing that hangs me up on that idea is narratively, do they just have it be like, if they're calling it Oathsworn, we know the Oathsworn is a group. So it's like, well, if they're calling it Oathsworn, that means that they must still be needed.
Yeah.
So my off the cuff idea is they did a Deepwood forest setting. They do something similar with mountains or sand, like a desert. Your traditional biomes: water, desert, mountains.
Yeah.
Or, I mean...
it's like a different crop of cities, different intrigues within.
I mean, if they're kind of doing this whole massive thing of how expansive the Deepwood is, they could easily just do it like, oh, hey, no, here's 12 new characters. You're just a different Oathsworn group dealing with different shit on the other side of the Deepwood. Like, and they could narratively tie it where it's like, maybe, we don't know what the other option was for the finale. Maybe even releasing Samel, again, spoilers, didn't actually kill the Deepwood. He could have been like, oh, you fucking idiots, like, and then he withers away and dies anyway. So the Deepwood still exists, and it's like, oh shit. Now in this new campaign, these Oathsworn died. Because we're not like gods or heroes, we're just still regular people. It's like, okay, different group of Oathsworn. Now it's like, you're trying to find a way to kill the Deepwood. And last time on Oathsworn Into the Deepwood, they tried to, crush the Heart of Darkness, and it didn't work. More in story. But I do remember the guy specifically going like, it takes time to balance it out, so we're working on it, but I don't think he had a pipeline or anything for when. But at least according to what the guy at Gen Con said, who works for the company, there is more content. And I think I even asked him, like, is there another campaign? And I think that there will be. Because Shadowborn Games is all they got. It's Oathsworn and then this area control game. So I can't imagine with the success of this one being rated 9.1, making a shit ton of money on Gen Con, that they're like, yeah, we're actually done. Yeah, we just want to make the one game. Yeah, call it there. Wash our hands.
Let's go, gentlemen.
Good, good job. Thank you. Thank you. And then they go off to their own thing. What would you want? What would you want them to do?
Yeah, another campaign.
Yep. Pretty much this exact same thing.
Yeah, just do this again.
Do this. Yeah,
it's great. Yeah, just new story. New monsters.
Maybe cut it down one chapter. Because I was like, I could think of specifically one chapter that was like, okay, whatever. Like, so it's like, even 20 was really good. 21, I was like, yeah, you can cut one out. But that would be it. Like, 20 new monsters, 20 new stories, 12 new characters.
Yeah.
And I'd be good.
I mean, yeah, this is a good system, so definitely use it
Yeah,
again.
please don't let it go to waste.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we might do a ranking on the monsters. Devin will have 2 missing. Unless by the time we do that, you've played your own campaign and got to those chapters. I guess wow. I guess theoretically, you don't have to do a campaign. You can just boop. Which is another benefit to this game. Some people are like, another campaign? It's like, oh no, just pick a chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just go to the encounter book, open it up, and set it up.
Yeah.
It tells you the quick setup characters. Go for it.
Nice.
But yeah, we'll probably rank the monsters / story, because that is a huge part, I think, to the monsters. But yeah, other than that, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you giving Oathsworn? Is it like the most duh?
Give it a 6.
It was kind of average, now that I think about it.
Yeah, man. They did awesome. This is a great, very well done game. I would recommend it to anyone that's into the fantasy setting, that's into campaign-style games, character-centric boss battlers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
Get it!
I very much agree. This is going to be one of those, when you start comparing boss battlers, it's like, ugh, like...
Yeah, this one's going to be up there. It's a hard one to beat.
It really is. And luckily, boss battling is a genre that's starting to kick off. Mm. And it's like, oh, thank God. Like, one, because it's just an awesome genre. And this one just really is like... Whenever I did... When this came out, Oathsworn and Aeon Trespass, it was the same year. And when I was doing my top 10, I literally could not decide which one was going to be number 1 between this one and Aeon Trespass, because... What Oathsworn has, I love its system, but Aeon Trespass has a better world and better storytelling, and it's like, fuck, and then its system is so good. It's a better KDM system. But this one's so fucking good, and it's digestible, it's accessible. You don't have to spend $1,000 like I didn't have to, that I did on ATO.
Yeah, you don't have to spend $1,000 on one board.
So it's like both of them just had so many positives. So literally at that time when I looked it up, I went to Board Game Geek and I'm like, whichever one has the higher overall ranking. And Aeon Trespass had a 9.3. This one had a 9.1.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, well, I guess that's it. I literally could have flipped a coin. Now, both of them are sitting at a 9.1.
Okay.
There was some shit with Into the Unknown and some shitty-ass YouTuber that probably caused people to rank it lower. But still, 9.1 is as good as you're ever going to get in a community thing. Yeah, it's easily a 10 out of 10. One, if not the best. Like, if they were like, hey, by the way, we're releasing a new whole thing tomorrow, I'd be like, let's play it. Whereas whenever we were done with Madara, you and I were like, let's take a break.
Take a minute.
I'm fucking done right now. I'm very excited for the story. I don't want to roll these dice ever again in my life. So this one, it's like, ooh, where's more? And if someone was like, hey, you want to do a campaign of Oathsworn? I'd be like, yes. Because even just seeing you went through 3 characters, that was kind of our whole story, was your characters kept dying. Yep. We almost could have killed the Blade.
Could have killed him.
Again.
Could have sacrificed him.
But I was like, no. But from your characters, because we didn't get to see a variety, I stayed with the priest the whole time. The penitent one, to the witch, to the blade, all of them played radically different, and even just having you in the group was like, oh shit, I have to kind of play around a little bit different. Yeah, I'd be like, ooh, I want to play as the warden this time.
Yeah.
And you should play as the witch, because I know a lot of story stuff that kind of does in both.
Yeah.
It's cool. You do lose a little bit of the magic on a separate replay, but the system is still fantastic, though. I don't think it really takes away from it. But that's it. That's it on Oathsworn, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Let us know what you think of this game in the comments below. And like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.